Alrighty, Tris, welcome back. We are on again for another podcast episode of the Ecom Map. Here to guide ecom brands on the way to do business in 2023. And as usual, we've got a brand here that I want you to guess, Tris, that you're not aware of. You've seen the notes yet. You have no idea what this brand is, right? Just to be clear, right? Yeah, sweet.
Absolutely not. I have no idea who
Here's
it
the
is.
details for you. Beautiful. So they started with $20,000 in cash. They all completely bootstrapped too, and they achieved $40 million in retail sales by year 3, which is, freaking insane to say the least. They started in 2014. They did $96 million in sales in 2022. They grew 50% from 2021 to that rate. And they say that they're on track to be valued at $1 billion valuation. Now, how true that is, I don't know, but they were currently at $300 million valuation last I checked. They're an Australian e-commerce brand owned by some young dudes, and I don't want to give away too much more than that, to be honest. And the only other thing I wanted to share, which I thought was pretty crazy, is that the regular retail price of their main product, or one of their main products, is 4 times the amount from like the standard big sort of household brand, like the Procter and Gamble style brand. Do you have any idea? And I'll give you 3 questions you can ask to clarify before you take a guess.
All right. Well, you said Procter and Gamble, so that immediately makes me think consumable. Is that right?
It is a consumable. Yes, it is a consumable. And I will add to it, like it is something that pretty much everyone, well, yes, hopefully everyone around the world uses, in the Western world at least.
All right. Now, Australia's not that big of a place. A brand that's worth 300 million or doing 100 million in revenue, or what'd you say? Did you say 100 million in revenue? What'd you say they just recently did?
Yeah, they did about 96 million revenue, but that's not just in Australia. They were just started in Australia, just to check that.
Right. Okay. I'm thinking consumable product, 100 million. You said young guys.
Yep.
I'm thinking
Yep.
4
Young
times
guys.
the RP of the standard product. Does it have anything to do, can both male and female use it? Because you said most people have it. So I'm assuming it's in every household
Yeah.
for a couple, or both male and female do use it.
Both male and females use it. Predominantly, their market is female, though.
All right, give me 2 more questions.
They use it every day, too.
Yeah,
you have 2
okay,
questions. That's it.
Yeah. Is it, what's that brand called with the toothpaste? It's the teeth whitening brand. High Smile.
Yep, it's them. Very nicely done. It is High Smile. They grew to $40 million in 3 years. I found it really interesting because they had $20,000. I didn't realize they completely bootstrapped it. So they haven't raised anything. So according to Forbes, they're both worth well over 9 figures in net worth each, which is pretty crazy. Only 80 employees too, over $1 million ahead, which is pretty crazy. Pretty good too, right? Completely profitable, no raised money. And what I wanted to sort of lead this conversation into was their scale strategy at the moment. So they recently did an interview towards sort of the end of the year with a few companies on how they're currently scaling. And of course, their big thing was influencer marketing at the beginning, but now they're moving towards a retail strategy. So they call it like they're trying to scale the supply chain. And so what they're doing is they're trying to get into, I think this year they were aiming for 20,000 stores in America between Walmart and CVS. I wanted to get sort of your input on that because that is a unique scale strategy that you don't see many brands talk about going into retail. It's like, is retail dead? Is D2C, the only way to go? What are your thoughts on that as a scale strategy for brands?
I mean, High Smile initially doing that influencer marketing, right? They had Conor McGregor, they had Kylie Jenner, right? Like they were famous, just like Gymshark. Maybe Gymshark was a little bit before them, but they were very much that brand, right? Like they nailed influencer marketing. They went and lent down that lane where it was like almost taboo to talk about teeth whitening and gross teeth. And then obviously they lent into making it beautiful, and obviously the rest is history. I'm seeing a lot of smaller brands. And when I mean smaller, I mean not 100 million, but like call it 10 to 15 million. So like smaller compared to High Smile, leaning into retail because they believe they're capping out the D2C space with their marketing. Now, obviously that's not really the case in most brand scenarios, but they're just finding that the idea for getting new customers in the front door, especially on the online store side of things, is going to come from their brand or their product being introduced to people in the Walmarts, in the Kmarts, in the Targets of the world, and they're going to rely on that introduction to be the reason or the catalyst for new customers. Like we work with a brand, Good Mix, that sells like breakfast muesli and stuff. Their new customer acquisition cost is like $10. That's not coming from ads. Now, some of it might be, but the reality is most of that's coming from them being in a heap of stores, being in like every single Sunday markets on the Eastern Seaboard. And people are going, oh, I loved that thing. I'm not going to the markets next week, but I'll just go online and buy it. And then those new customers aren't being acquired from ads. They're being acquired from guerrilla marketing, boots on the ground, people selling the product. And by proxy of that, they're now getting the emails of those customers. They're now being able to remarket to them. And so the new customer cost, whether it be via tech, Target, or a literal Sunday markets, those new customers coming back to the D2C. So I reckon that HiSmile is going to leverage the crap out of that on the precedent that they're going to just now be in front of a hell of a lot more people. Sure, they're not going to make as much money on that sale because I'm assuming Walmart's probably negotiated the crap out of that fee. And then ultimately, those people are going to come back and buy HiSmile from the website because they don't feel like going to Walmart or CVS or whatever. I reckon that's their strategy.
It's interesting you talk about the omni-channel approach. Do you think for a new brand that's just coming out, like we're talking doesn't even do 1,000 a day, with maybe does a few hundred a day, do you think it's beneficial for them to start trying to go omni-channel because, like you said, people are working off different channels and some people like going in store, some people might go to a conference and see them? Or do you think it's better that they focus purely on one channel like Facebook ads or TikTok ads?
I think if their brand is doing less than $100,000 a month, they should be on one channel only, and find product market fit. Right? If they haven't found product market fit yet, because you're not going to find that product market fit until around about $100,000 a month anyway, really, until you're sort of doing a bit more than $1 million a year. Until you find that and you've got your angle, you know who your target market is, and you know how to position your product as the benefit that it brings your customer, until you find that, there is no point in negotiating with Sephora or trying to get into Price Attack or Kmart or something, because all you're doing is just coming from the position of no authority, no leg to stand on, and they're going to just negotiate the crap out of the product, and you're going to get next to no introduction to that market. Unless you have some angle into a Price Attack because you used to be the buyer's agent for corporate, unless you're that, there is absolutely no upside of being in the market, because all you're going to do is just sell the product at a discounted rate, have next to no margin on that sale, just to rebuy that product again, just for it to turn around and go, well, I could have been spending so much more attention on my D2C market and I would have got a hell of a lot more profit. I think it's just different stages of business.
It's so interesting you say that because we've had brands talk to us sort of almost in a brag sense saying, well, we're in David Jones or we're in Maya, but that doesn't necessarily mean, like you said, that's a good thing as an early stage brand. I wouldn't even say it really builds the authority as much as maybe they think going to those places for like your D2C sales. Like I don't think that really causes consumers to trust you more as much as maybe we would think. So I think that's a really good point and a really good learning point for a lot of new brands there. On the point of like retail versus online, did you see the Amazon news and Walmart news regarding Walmart trying to compete with Amazon by launching their own third-party site? Did you see that?
No, I didn't. What was the third-party site trying to achieve? Like a marketplace?
Yeah, Amazon, right? Their whole business model is reselling. They're not the sellers. They have sellers come on board, and then they'll get a commission or a fee that's very high to fulfill the products as well as allow them to sell online. And so Walmart, because their average distribution across the average American consumer is about 10 miles. And this actually is more effective or more efficient than Amazon warehouses, meaning that they're actually able to compete on Amazon's biggest point, which is fast delivery. And so Walmart is now making this huge leap because if you, I sent us across a chart there, you can see that the current market share, if we look in 2023, Walmart is at about 5.9%, while Amazon's at 37.6%, I believe. So a huge disproportionate change between market share. So Walmart's, they had their conference recently, and they've just said that we're going to announce this holiday period, we're going to do our own third-party marketplace, which is going to be very, very interesting, particularly for brands in the US marketing, to see Walmart now become a big player on both Google traffic and Facebook traffic as well. So that is kind of crazy on that side. they've always had like a massive rivalry too. I don't know if you've listened to Business Wars before the podcast, but they've had a massive rivalry for a while where Walmart was always the big dog, and Amazon was literally the up and comer before online retail was a thing. And now the tables have turned, and now Walmart's trying to take on Amazon on the e-commerce front, which is super interesting as well. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out.
Is Walmart in this scenario literally just creating warehouses in like their actual physical stores, or are they building warehouses, or are they just literally getting a bunch of stock from online sellers, throwing it in the back of the store, and then just shipping it out? Like, what are they logistically doing to compete?
From what I understand, they're going to be using their main warehouses and storage as part of that, but they're rolling out these things like these mini warehouses, they called it on the article I was reading, and that's how they're able to have more ability to handle third-party sellers on top of like their main venues. But they must have some sort of capacity of some sort to be able to do it for people to move along and actually get third-party sellers in. But from what I understand, they don't have a resource issue there, so they're somehow able to do that. But I actually think they're going to have a big impact this holiday season on American markets, especially since the usage of their apps, like their shopping app, is actually more popular than Amazon at the moment. There's more users on the Walmart app than on Amazon app, which is pretty phenomenal. We're talking millions difference too, which is crazy. So that's quite big, and I think we're going to see a lot. It's going to be exciting because it's actually training the American consumer to be online too and shop online, which is good for e-commerce businesses to get people pivoting away from brick and mortar. So crazy stuff happening there.
I mean, e-commerce, we talk about it all the time, that like e-commerce, I remember reading in the Australian Bureau of Statistics, or the ABS or whatever it's called, they said that e-commerce has literally got a 20% tailwind behind it. Like e-commerce year on year is growing about 20%. Take out the COVID spike, which was like 40 or what, or something ridiculous percent climb, but like on an average over the last 5 years, taking out that 1 year, it's been a 20% tailwind. Like Walmart, Amazon, they would know exactly that. It'd be the exact same thing in America, that they're trying to play to, as you said, e-commerce just as much as the physical stores. And Walmart, as you said, have the infrastructure already in place that's going to give them that infrastructure to get that product in them. Like they've already got the moat that Amazon probably spent billions of dollars to make, which is fast delivery. Like you and I can't go build an Amazon tomorrow because we can't compete on time. Walmart is sitting there going, well, we literally have, as you said, 90% of the American population within a 10-mile radius of one of our stores already. We just need to increase our capacity, or if you've already got the capacity, build out the infrastructure that's going to give us the ability to ship this product to someone 10 minutes down the road. Like, it's a no-brainer if I'm sitting there in Walmart's boardroom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that plays out. And if anything like that sort of moves into Australia at the moment. We haven't really got too much Amazon competition as of yet, or any big retailers, but I feel like that's coming soon. I feel like Amazon is getting more popularity in our marketplace, so that will be interesting to see on that side. And speaking
the next
of
topic that I wanted to
go for it.
I was going to say, I think we're going to talk about the same thing. The thing I was about to say, new topics, new categories, Walmart competing with Amazon. We were talking the other day around Skims entering the men's market. I wanted to talk through, and I wanted to get your opinion on literally brands that are known for one thing, Skims is a perfect example, entering a new category altogether. Not a new category in the sense that it's now activewear selling cars, but like activewear selling activewear, but just for a new market. So like still in the same space. What is the success? What's the likelihood of it even working? Do we see brands, especially D2C brands, do they have a system of doing that successfully? Because I know we've worked with a handful of brands that have introduced new categories. Some have done it really well. Some have been absolutely flopped, right? Like our biggest advice to brand doing it is coming on the precedent of stay in the same price range. Like don't go introducing perfume that's $6,000 when you sell an average order value of 100, right? So be smart about it. Don't go sell something that's completely left field. So if you're selling jewelry, go sell shirts at the absolute most, but don't go sell something like a car, right? Like, or computers or a mouse pad. Like be smart about what you're actually selling. What else are we suggesting, or what do you reckon Skims is going to do? Are they just too big to fail at this point, or like what do you reckon the structure, or what is the structure that they're sort of implementing?
Well, I definitely want to pose a question back on you on what the recommendations are, because I'm curious to get your opinion first on that, because I think you'll be qualified to answer that. But I will tell you with Skims that their current market share on men's to women's. From what I understand from top of memory, is about 10%, maybe less than that, which is a very small percentage of their total revenue. Now we're talking about like $1 billion valuation company, right? That's raised multi-millions of dollars in seeding rounds. So we're talking about a very big company. The point of scale now, where capping the market is on the line. So like for most brands listening, it probably doesn't make sense for them to go, if they're cross category from men to women or women to men. That's a really big move. So that's to give context with them. But for their stage, it seems like they would have had an investor meeting or a conversation that's justified to them, where they have an opportunity to reach what is, I think it was a $10 billion or dollar market cap in the US alone to reach that male market, right, of activewear. So for them, it made sense to start reaching into that, especially because they have connections. Their latest promotion of the men's collections had Neymar, like the famous soccer player. Like most brands can't get that level of pop culture and celebrities in. So they're just using that money that they have. I mean, they've got a war chest right there of hundreds of millions of dollars on top of their currently already credible name and success to drive a new market category. But that would be expensive, man. To jump into men from women would be a big change. And we know that men don't shop nearly as much as women online. It's not as much of a hot market to go for if you're a new brand. So it's something that I don't think brands should take a lesson from or take a note out of, rather just observe that this brand is doing it and just see how they go. But notice that they have these clear advantages that give them an unfair ability to do it. So what are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on like how brands best cross categories? Because I'm curious to know how you would go about it.
Well, I mean, the biggest takeaway, the cross-category promotions, cross-category product drops, the ones that are actually successful, I reckon they're staying within their lane, right? They're going from activewear to activewear. They're going from jewelry to jewelry, right? They're staying in their lane, so they're not completely reinventing what's happening. The second thing is the price point staying the same too. Like they're not completely entering a new price point or a new consumer, right? They're staying at a $300 pot and pan and then introducing like cooking utensils and stuff, and they're staying at that price point. They're not introducing $1,000 items, right? Like they're staying in that lane. And then the other thing is, from a new customer point of view and a returning customer point of view, if they execute it properly, like they're in for an absolute heater, right? Like think about RM Williams, like being in Australia. I'm literally wearing the shirt now, actually, so that's funny, right? That RM Williams category, right? The product, the brand, exactly what they stood for. They had the boots. They were the leather boots. They were made for cowboys. They were made for people out in the bush, and that's what they were known for. Then obviously over time it's introduced and been more for corporate workers and stuff. But irrelevant to that point, they introduced the boots first, and then they said, all right, we're fantastic at leather making. Like we understand this market, we understand the supply chain, we understand what we need to get, and we understand the quality of the product for entering this and charging what we charge. So basically all they did was go, all right, we're going to introduce other leather goods. We're going to introduce wallets, and we're going to introduce belts. When they did those things, essentially every customer that likes their boots or likes the brand for what it stands for, they immediately turn around and go, I trust you with my boots. I like your boots. I wear your boots. I'm happy to pay $700 for a pair of boots. I'm now going to trust, or I've got that trust by proxy in your belts and wallets, right? So there's that massive change in product category that allows returning customers to come back and obviously buy in droves. By doing that, when they do it correctly, which obviously RM Williams and I'm hoping Skims does at the same time, when they do it correctly, all they're doing is going, hello, 10,000 past customers for the last year. Did you know we now sell belts and wallets? At the same time, all it's doing now is opening up the potential marketing opportunities for the same point. So like, yes, a pair of boots is $700, but now they're introducing a belt or a wallet that's $200. And so now they're entering a new category and they're being able to bring in that cheaper market. The same thing is what Gucci and obviously Dior and shit do when they introduce perfume and stuff, right? The number one thing that those brands actually sell is the perfume, which you can buy at a Chemist Warehouse for, sure, $150, but you're buying into that luxury sort of positioning of the brand. You can't afford the actual runway items, which are thousands of dollars, but you're buying into that product and opening up a little bit easier. So like, it's that sort of train of thought and executing on that properly, as opposed to being like, I sell computer hardware and now I sell activewear. Like that's never going to work.
Well, another brand that's doing it really well at the moment, I don't know, do you own any Lululemon men's gear?
I don't, no.
It doesn't seem like you like. I definitely do. It's totally down my line. Well, Lululemon was primarily, they started out as female yoga pants and whatever, and grew to a multi-billion-dollar company, right? But now they're really pushing hard for the men's market. So if you look at the ad library, you'll notice that a lot of it is men's-related items, and that is just another example where they're trying to go cross-category. And one thing you notice, and one thing I'm also feeling with RMs as well, is they're at that point of brand where like you can have an expectation of what, for RMs, right, you can kind of imagine what their belt's going to look like. It's going to be, high quality leather. It's going to have that nice logo in it. It's going to feel rich. And so you're willing to sort of like spend, I'm sure, an absurd amount of money like you did on your belt and shirt on what maybe you would usually spend on a college shirt and belt. And so that is kind of the level of a brand needs to be at before they go cross category. Like you said, it's like you build trust to the point where it's like, I trust this brand so much. I've got expectation around it. I'm willing to buy an accessory product or a related product for a much higher markup because I just kind of trust the relationship with this brand. So yeah, I totally understand.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, I think it's the founder or the CEO of LVMH. Like he said it perfectly. Like brand is built in tiny little droplets over the course of 50 years, but you can lose it in a moment's notice, right? Like brand is built over time in little bits. That exact point you're making is exactly the reason why entering new categories or entering omni-channel places is not something you should do early on, because you don't have the brand loyalty. You have no brand. You've just got a product that you're hoping you can position properly that a handful of people are going to buy. And once you get to $100,000, $200,000 a month and you're getting whatever the AOV is, call it 200,000 orders a year or whatever it ends up being, or 20,000 orders, you're positioning it in a way where you're actually getting customers and bringing in them into a community, which then they can buy into the brand. Like that's the reality of entering these categories. I mean, think about movement watches, right? Like when I say movement, you think watches. Like when I say movement, do you think about the sunnies that they sell or anything like that? No, you think about the watches.
Yeah.
But I'm sure as hell that they're going to introduce sunnies or whatever else they've got coming down the pipeline because they're entering those categories. You'll still forever always be known for that same product, I think, but it's about the people that are buying from you consistently that they'll come and buy those extra categories from you.
Wait, you knew that they just released sunnies, right? Or did you just guess that?
I literally just guessed that. Did they introduce sunnies? That's so good.
Dude, that's literally what they just did. They just started releasing glasses. Yeah, legit. They've expanded out that exact example you just said, which is funny. And Ridge Wallet, did you notice they expanded out to rings as well? That's their big thing.
I did, but think about how you just explained it, right? Ridge Wallets, right? Their brand is called Ridge, right? I'm assuming, like that's the way it's on the URL. You called it Ridge Wallet, right? Or Movement Watches. They're entering a new market, yes, but those new market is entering it on the precedent that most of the people buying that secondary category are going to be returning customers. They will forever be known, as I'm assuming Skims and I'm assuming Lululemon still have right to this day, that most of the customers that buy that secondary category or tertiary category is going to come from returning customers who bought the main product they're known for. Same as RM, and I'm assuming same as Lululemon and Skims at this point.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you're right. They're LTV plays. Launching products like that is an LTV play because I'm pretty sure Ridge Wallet is like the top wallet search term in America. Like it's such a big brand search that they actually own the wallet search market. So that's where people are going to discover them from. But the rings are totally an LTV play. Like that's how because it's a one-time purchase item. So that I think that's what comes down to all cross category. It's really an LTV play for most brands. You're not searching for an Ireland Williams belt. Did you want to go one more topic, or did we want to call it here and save it?
I reckon we call it here, and we talk about celebrity. I reckon we talk about the celebrity influencer stuff next week, amongst other things. But I reckon we call it here.
Let's bring some celebrity brands in next week. I want to talk about some and see how they're going because they're usually public about their numbers. So let's see how they're going and talk a little bit about that. I'm keen to do that. Amazing, buddy. Well, that was a good chat. We'll see you on the next session. See you, buddy.
You will. See you, mate.